What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be reviewing Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer, which is the first Twilight book reimagined, but from Edward's perspective instead of Bella's. So if you're not already familiar with the plot of Twilight, how dare you? It follows Bella Swan moving to Forks, Washington, and meeting Edward Cullen, who's an immortal vampire whose family considers them vegetarians because they feed on the blood of animals rather than humans. Some vampires are gifted. Edward's sister Alice can see the future. Edward can read minds. Everyone except Bella's mind. And initially this frustrates him, but eventually curiosity takes over and they fall in love with each other. Edward knows that he shouldn't fall in love with a human and how dangerous those consequences could be, but he's unable to stop himself. So as I mentioned before, while the first Twilight book is in first person from Bella's perspective, this book follows first person of Edward's perspective and is a much darker and grittier version of that story. And I gotta say, guys, it's fantastic. It takes a really talented writer to basically be able to write the same book over again, but from a different character's perspective without it feeling dull or repetitive, and Stephenie Meyer absolutely nailed it. And I feel like Stephenie's writing has matured. I haven't read anything since I first read the Twilight saga over a decade ago, but I was really pleasantly surprised at how detailed these characters and scenes were. The mature writing might also have to do with Edward being over 100 years old and he's had more life experience at this point than Bella. And plus, vampire senses are extremely sharp, so he's probably able to describe things with more detail than, humans can. So it's probably a little bit of both. Now, there were times where I felt like the book was a little bit lengthy and I can kind of feel myself getting burnt out by the end, but it wasn't enough to bore me and it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was fascinating to get inside of Edward's mind, his dilemma of hating himself and not wanting to be a monster and harm others, thinking of himself as a soulless being without redemption. Though he and Rosalie do a lot of inner monologue complaining about being a vampire and wishing that they were human again, wouldn't that be awkward for Carlisle, who's the one that changed them into vampires? God, I hate being a vampire. I wish I was human again so that I wouldn't be so dangerous to Bella all the time. Being a vampire and immortal sucks. I wish I was human again. I would never have chosen this life for myself. Since he can't read Bella's mind, he cleverly looks into other people's minds to see how she's doing that day or if she's in danger. I've always wondered how far away Edward could read minds, and it's revealed that he can read them up to a few miles away. All he has to do is tune into one of them and concentrate on it. The book does go into his past a little bit when the change first happened, but I'm really curious as to when he found out that he could do this for the first time. Don't you think that he would have gone crazy hearing everybody's minds all the time, nonstop? We also get to learn a little bit more about Carlisle showing this vegetarian lifestyle to them and showing them another way of living by making them go to their human victims' funerals if they end up slipping up on their diet, which is pretty heavy. Now, of course, this is a love story, so there's a lot of gushiness and romance and over-the-top descriptions about how much Bella means to Edward. But if there's one thing that makes me cringe in books or movies is when they try to squeeze the title of the book or the movie into the dialogue. We should probably wrap this up. Your father's going to be home soon. Oh my God, Charlie, how late is it? It's Twilight. It's Twilight, Bella. Because Edward thinks of himself as a monster, there did seem to be an overabundance of "she should run away now, I'm too dangerous for her, how could she love a monster" type of dialogue. And since this was a reimagining, there were a few times where I got a little down and I was thinking, well, I know how the story is going to end, so there's really nothing that could catch me off guard, but there was a twist in the story regarding Alice that I wasn't expecting, and that was really interesting. And can we just talk about Alice for a second? She's the real hero of this story. Forget Team Edward or Team Jacob. I'm Team Alice all the way. The ending of the book where they all have to outwit James and Alice is going through all the possible futures and how they have to execute those plans and cover up their evidence afterwards so that it's not revealed that vampires are a real thing and that they're involved at all. It was phenomenal. And since Edward can read Alice's mind, he experiences all these possible futures along with her. I actually wouldn't mind rereading all of the Twilight saga books from Edward's perspective. It was that good. The only thing that I didn't like, and this really killed it for me, is that I'm not allowed to give this book a 6 out of 5, so a 5 will have to do. If this is your first introduction to the Twilight series, I might recommend reading the actual first Twilight book first in order to get some context, but it's still a great read no matter what you decide. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next book review video. See you later. So as I mentioned before, while the first Twilight book is from